Welcome everyone in YouTube land and Facebook land. It's your friendly neighborhood PRE, Mr. Justin Hamza Tyler. Happy Thursday, Ramadan Mubarak, and soon to be in advance Eid Mubarak, right? So you should have had the news today that we will be off for the next 2 weeks, thanks to the graciousness of our Emir of Qatar. So it's a great way to open the show and to get into what we're going to talk about for grade 8 to the grade 9 transition and to prepare our families who are grade 8 families now for what to expect for grade 9. So, as usual, I have some friends with me who can actually talk about this in better detail than I can. And so I have Miss Donna here, a middle school counselor, and then Mr. Jeffrey Wessel, middle school principal. So I'm going to let Miss Donna go ahead, because ladies first, to introduce herself to the community, and then we'll go to Mr. Wessel, and then we'll get right into the presentation. So Miss Donna, take it away.
Hello, thank you very much, Justin. Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Miss Donna. I am the middle school counselor. So I would have seen some of your kids from grade 6, 7, and now through 8. And happy to be here to answer any questions you may have. I know this may be a bit of an anxious time for some students transitioning from middle school to high school with many different credit requirements and getting ready for when your grades count for college and all of that. So if they're going through any confusion, they're happy to reach out, have them reach out to me.
Indeed, indeed. And I do want to put your email address up here because I do get requests for you a lot. And for
Okay.
middle school, you are heavily requested because of the wonderful work that you do. But this is Miss Donna's email address, just in case you have something to talk about for family and for this transition. All right. So, Mr. Wessel, you can go ahead and introduce yourself to the community.
Absolutely. Thanks, Justin. Thank you, Donna. My name is Mr. Wessel. I am the head of middle school, but I'm also the upper school assistant principal. So that's, I'm focusing on grades 6 through 8, but I have responsibilities on grades 6 through 12. And I'm really happy to have this. We've been increasing the number of these different live streams, and whether or not people actually come in live or just watch later, it doesn't really matter. I think that it's a lot of good information that people, I know when I've talked to people, they've referred back to these things and said, hey, in the live stream, you said this. Whether you're watching this live right now or you're watching it recorded some other time, thanks for tuning in. And this is an important topic because it's high stakes now. I have a lot of conversations with 8th grade students as they're going through this year and getting ready for 9th grade. So a lot of information here. There's a little bit on the screen, but there's a lot to say about it. No question is as a bad question. So please feel free to send them in and send all your students to me or Miss Donna or any one of us. We're always happy to help.
Definitely, definitely. We are very happy to help. That's for sure. Thank you, Mr. Wessel. And just for anyone who needs to reach out to Mr. Wessel, obviously people reach out to me a lot, and I kind of forward emails as well. But we're always here to support as much as possible. We just want you to be familiar, just in case you have any questions after the live stream, and then we can, facilitate it from there. All right. And so we're going to begin the presentation. Today, for families here, we appreciate you here looking at it live. If you don't look at it live, we still appreciate you looking at the recorded version of this. If you're on the live right now, if you know a family needs to listen and tap into what we're going to say, please share the link with them from Facebook or from YouTube. It'll be very beneficial. And please list your questions, comments, concerns in the YouTube chat or the Facebook comments box. And at the end of the presentation, we'll make sure that we actually answer those questions, acknowledge those questions that you have. So please feel free to place your comments or chat in the YouTube chat or Facebook comments section, all right? So without further ado, let's do what we came here to do, all right? So let's start with the first slide here. And now it is titled grade 9 because we're looking for the grade 8 to the grade 9 transition, right? That's why it's titled grade 9. So let's go ahead and get into the topics today. So Mr. Wessel or Ms. Donna, who's leading the presentation today?
I'll get into it, and Ms. Donna's very knowledgeable. I'm sure she can add in some things that I forget or miss along the way. All right, so yeah, we'll talk about courses. In case you weren't aware, your students are currently in the midst of choosing their courses for grade 9. It's open in Alma. They should be doing that, and then we're going to be approving those, having conversations, and all of that kind of thing. In high school, we start talking about credits because we have minimum credit requirements for graduation. They're subject specific, etc. We'll get into all of that. APs, this stands for Advanced Placement. These are classes that are just what it sounds like. They're advanced classes, and they're an opportunity for your kids to learn some things that'll really prepare them for the rigors of university. GPA, that stands for grade point average. This is something that is standard in American curriculum schools. It's a numerical way to gauge the performance of students across all of their subjects. Like I mentioned before, graduation requirements. I know some people might think, well, it's awfully early to be talking about this, but it's never too early because some of those graduation requirements, we make sure that they take care of in grade 9. And then map testing, this will continue, and I'll talk about the importance of it and how it applies throughout the next few years.
All right, so we'll move on to the next slide.
Okay, so the grade point average is, like I said, a numerical measure of how students are doing across all of their subjects. You can see on the slide there that we assign a point value to each letter grade. And then the way that it is calculated is you take those points and you add them up, and then you divide that number by the number of classes taken. So let's say your student is fantastic. They're taking 8 classes and they get an A in every single one of those classes. All right. So then you take that 8, they take it times 4, 32. You divide it by the 8, and you get 4.0. They'd have a 4.0 GPA. And this is real. The second bullet point, I can't tell you how, I will just like lose my breath telling people over and over and over again, going into 9th grade and all through the 9th grade year, parents and students, it counts for university starting in grade 9. Doesn't matter where you're going, that GPA starts, and actually for some people, there's a small caveat here. For some students, it started this year in grade 8 with one class. We have that advanced algebra 1 in grade 8. That counts toward that high school GPA. All right, so keep that in mind. But all of this counts. I've had so many people sit down with me and say, oh, I thought this didn't count. I thought it didn't start counting till grade 10. Absolutely not. It starts counting in grade 9. All of grade 9 counts. All right. Now, you see that there's no F on that scale there because F is worth 0 points. And we don't need to talk about that sort of negative side of things too much. But in case a student does fail a course, well, because we have requirements, they need to make that up. And then they can repair their GPA because that 0 is going to be a killer. Like if they have to take a math class over again because they failed it, that's going to replace that one and it's going to improve that GPA.
Mr. Wessel, is there a particular number of failures for the year that would maybe have a student be retained, just in case for knowledge purposes?
Yeah, absolutely. So we generally use 3 courses. So if a student fails 3 classes or more, then we recommend retention and doing that year over again. Because otherwise, so if they fail, for example, math, English, and science, all right, and then they move on in grade 9, and then they move on to grade 10, that means they're going to have to take all of those grade 10 math, English, and science and repeat that grade 9 math, English, and science. There's not room enough left for them in their schedule to do much else. So we stick to 3. If it's 3 or more, then we strongly recommend that they be retained because otherwise they might end up being 23 years old and still trying to finish high school.
Sounds good. Just wanted the people to know. All right. So we'll move on to the next slide.
All right. So we have, so for each class that a student takes in high school over the course of a year, that's worth 1 credit. We're going to take 8 courses per year generally. Now, when they get up a little bit higher, there are some caveats. There are some classes that are not credited classes, but you're not going to have to worry about that in grade 9 because they're not going to be getting a library period, and they're not going to be student TAs. That's for the higher grades. So they'll have 8 classes in a year. As long as they pass those 8 classes, they get the 8 credits. And then in the core subject areas, I can just talk about the graduation requirements already. I don't know if that's on the next slide or not, but in the core requirements are, there we are, English, math, science, and social studies. So that's 1 credit for each year. And then, let's see, did this, oh yeah, it did it, it updated. And then in the fine and performing arts, 2 in PE, that is 1 credit. This is over the course of the entire time in high school. And then the student choice electives, it's 3 credits. And then there's a minimum credit requirement for graduation, which is 24. So with those cores, obviously we recommend they do 1 each year. They might end up doing more social studies a lot of times because we've got a lot to offer in that. And so a lot of students take more than 1 class in that. And then it's important to note over on the side there that, if you're from one of the 13 countries that the Ministry of Education requires to take Arabic, then that's a mandatory class every single year. And something that is relatively new is that if a student is registered as Muslim in our school system, so if you as a family reply to the form, the survey that we sent out that the student is Muslim, then they must take Islamic studies class. That would be either in Arabic, so Islamic native, or Islamic non-native, and they have to be registered in those classes if our school system says that they are Muslim. Okay, go ahead, Justin. Do you have a question or you want to prompt me?
No, nothing really at this time. I'm curious about APs because a lot of parents do ask about what's available in grade 9 and grade 10, and I always tell parents about prerequisites, for certain classes that can't be taken until those prerequisites are fulfilled. So just kind of maybe, I'm sure you're going to talk about that in this slide, but just that's one of the questions I always receive.
Sure. So like I said before, AP stands for Advanced Placement. This is part of the College Board curriculum. These are courses that are taken in high school, but they actually can be applied toward university credits in a lot of schools around the world, especially in the United States, but not just in the US. I know if you go and you look on the College Board website, or you can Google it and find it, there are a lot of international universities, I'd say international, a lot of universities, even in this region and through Europe and Asia, that do accept the AP classes as university credit. So they can actually finish some of that and save you a few bucks when your kids are enrolled in university. They are difficult. They're challenging and they're rigorous. And at the end of the year, these do have external examinations, and they're on specific dates and times. So when it's in May, it's between May 6th and 17th this year, I believe. And our students and the students from around the world who are taking these classes will sit down and take those exams. They're scored on a 1 to 5 basis, and with a 3 and above being considered a passing score. In order for students to take an AP here, they need to get recommended, and we have the teachers that do that. Now, there are times when a student or some parents are really insistent that a student take an AP class that maybe they didn't get a recommendation for. We'll entertain that. We'll have those conversations. But the reason why students aren't recommended for these things is that we want them to be successful. And so sometimes we're worried about them actually making sure that they can be successful. We don't want to hurt their GPA, and we want them to make sure they've got a balanced schedule. So we do have this recommendation process in there. And like it says there, these are considered to be highly prestigious, highly valued by universities. My daughter is finishing up high school now. We've looked at a lot of universities, and they'll actually, even though we don't weight our AP classes, meaning we don't make them stronger for the GPA, most of the universities, every one of them that I've looked at for my daughter, they see those APs, and instead of a 4.0 on that grading, on the GPA scale, they'll actually give an AP a 5.0 for an A and a 4 for a B, etc. So it's something that it's worthwhile. Trying to think if there's anything else I need to talk about this. I mean, I think the next slide's got more about APs and what we've got going on in grade 9 when it comes to that.
Well, just for clarity, Mr. Wessel, when it comes to honors classes, I get a lot of these questions as well. Do you have an honors program, things like that? Is this the AP program the closest we'll have to an honors program?
Absolutely, yeah. These are the high level, these are the honors level classes. And this is where students can challenge themselves. And one of the things that especially there's not a whole lot to be offered in grade 9 because these are university level classes. So, we choose carefully what we allow our grade 9 students to take. But they are rigorous, they are challenging. And then when they get up a little bit higher, what's great about the AP program is that students can pick and choose based on what they're looking for when it comes to studying in university and what their personal strengths are individually. So it's something that I think is a real asset to our school and to schools that have this kind of program. And we've got, once the students get up higher and they've met a lot of prerequisite classes, then they've got a lot of options. And it's also important to mention that it is absolutely never required for a student to take an AP class. If a student doesn't take an AP class their entire time here, that's absolutely fine. They can do well. They'll get a well-rounded education, and they'll go on with a high school diploma and can apply to any university and be accepted to any university worldwide with that. So it's not for everybody, but we want everyone to try. Everyone's got their strength and they're strong. There's different academic areas, so. We want them to make the best choices for themselves, and we're here to help them along the way.
Yeah, I think you made a good distinction. Like, you don't want to overload a 9th grader worrying about APs, when they have a long trajectory to take those, especially when everything is available grade 11 and grade 12. So that's a good distinction.
We've got a lot. We have a lot of APs, and it's growing every year.
The most, I think, in the country, the most. I can pretty much say that for sure.
Yep.
All right, there you go. Next slide here.
Yeah, and I've covered a lot of this, but you can see and there's one thing I didn't put in there though. So we do have a lot in the AP program especially in grades 11 and 12, but in grade 9, we do have AP Human Geography. This is going to be recommended by the 8th grade social studies teacher. And then if a student in grade 8 has shown a real strength in IT class, then they could get a recommendation. They can take computer science principles. And the one that's missing here is we also have AP Spanish and AP French. So if students are proficient, at this point, to take it in grade 9, they'd really only be native speakers who are going to be taking an AP French or Spanish class. But we will make that exception there. So those are the 3 that would be available. And like I said, these are rigorous classes. This is pitched at a college level, and it's a fast pace. There's a lot of content to cover. So we do give a little. If a student signs up for one, and in the first couple of weeks of the school year they decide, whoa, this is too much, we help them out, and we can drop them out of that class and get them into something else.
All right, move on to the next slide. Yep, there you go.
Yep. So, a lot of this, so there are a lot of different types of classes. There are some requirements. We make sure that every grade 9 student takes PE because we got that one PE requirement. We make sure that, students need 2 consecutive years of a foreign language or world language to meet the graduation requirement. I mentioned the mandatory classes in English, science, social studies, and math. And then we've always got new classes coming up. The course request forms are out now. We do it this time of year every single year. And honestly, for me, it's one of my favorite things to do. I love sitting down and talking with the students who want to ask questions about what they should study and what choices they can make. And I love seeing young people excited about what they're going to do with their future, So that's happening now. And if you're eighth grader, or maybe you're in elementary school and you're just really keen, your kids are in elementary school and you're keen to know more about this now, you can start thinking about it. But those eighth graders, have them open up Alma, have them and take a look at what they can start signing up for now.
Sounds good. And then map testing, and this is very important as well.
Yeah, so we do use those recommendations when it comes to the getting into an AP class, but also we take a look at the map scores. So, we've been doing this for a long time. We added on science this year, but it's about MAP stands for a measure of academic progress. And so this isn't about whether, measuring against everybody else necessarily, but measuring against one's own progress over the course of the years. We do it 2 times a year with one supplemental one in the winter time that we do for some students who scored particularly low or those who came in and joined the school after the fall administration had already happened. But we encourage students to take it seriously. It doesn't count as part of their grade. And so there's some students want to kind of slack off and say, this doesn't mean all that much. I can just, finish it up real quick. And then maybe they're really disappointed because their MAP scores don't reflect their actual ability. And then they're not in that class that they really wish they could be taking. So, we send these results out, and we're just we also use this data as teachers to inform what's happening in the class so we can identify what areas of strength and weakness that our students have in general.
What I
we continue doing the map testing too, I should say, up through grade 11. So it's going to be part of everybody's lives for several more years.
What I like is this year how we had a segment of our award ceremony for students who showed great, progress on the map test.
That's right.
So we're testing twice a year. Yep. Good.
Yep. We do it in the fall and then again in the spring. And then, like I said, for some students that we do it in the wintertime, and we look at there's achievement, and that's sort of the level based on global averages, and then there's progress and growth. So it is really important to see. Honestly, growth is more important than achievement. We want to see that what we're doing in the classroom is resulting in actual learning. And this is one of the ways we can measure that.
Indeed. All right. And then volunteer hours. Yes.
Yep. So another one of the things that should not be overlooked in high school, it says here 40 hours of volunteer work for graduation. And really what we're looking at here is it should be 10 hours a week. Or not a week, 10 hours a year for each of the 4 years that they're in high school. And there are lots of opportunities within the school, but then there are also opportunities, to do things when there are volunteer opportunities outside. If you get like a letter or something of experience from those people, you can bring it in. And it's Miss Bealby who keeps track of all that stuff for us right now. She is a high school social studies teacher, teaches a couple AP classes. We want, again, we're looking for the result here is a well-rounded student and being I wouldn't say useful, but being a contributing member of the community and helping out is an important part of what we're trying to impart in our students.
It's part of that holistic development, right? So it's part of that whole continuum there.
That's right.
We're at the end of the presentation. So I'll put us all on the big screen, because we do have one parent who had some things that she wanted to say.
Hey,
Dr.
Justin,
Latif- Yes.
before we get to
Yes.
that,
Yes.
one thing, Miss Donna here is part of the committee that deals with the transitions, going from grade 6 up to grade or 5 to 6, and then from grade 8 to grade 9. And there's an important part of that, and she is going to give us a little information about that.
Exactly. So actually, thank you. It's called the transitions committee because different big transitions in your kids' lives are important to be acknowledged and celebrated. And so for that, something lovely that the school does is a grade 8 graduation ceremony, very aptly and nicely named Graduate. With the number 8. So we invite you all. Parents are involved, and I encourage you to be a part of it and have your kids be a part of it. This year, it's going to be, I believe, on June 10th. But all details and about the event will be shared with you after the break through email and. It's just a great celebration with like speeches from the principals as well as student speakers, and we give out superlative awards. So it's a very fun and momentous occasion for the grade 8 students to really mark the end and the culmination of their grade 8 and middle school, really, and look forward to the transition into high school.
How could I forget this? Because I wasn't on the slide, but this is such a very important program. And Ms. Donna does an excellent job, helping everyone facilitate this process. And I love the name. Whoever came up with the name should definitely join the marketing department here at the school.
You want to hear a secret?
Yeah.
So I created the name, but I didn't exactly create it. Back when I was at Dubai American Academy, that's what we did. I brought that, I stole it, but hey, I'm giving it credit now, right? This is my works cited page.
So we'll do that. So we'll give Mr. Wessel his credit and just due, and it's a Jim's proprietary idea. You know what I mean? So grade 8. There you go. We'll keep it in the Jim's family. So that's cool. All right, cool. Thanks for bringing that over. That's a nice concept for sure. All right. So we have a couple of questions from parents. I want to be able to get through. Dr. Latifa, for example, I'm going to put her comment on the screen. We'll address it one by one. She has 3 different things she wanted to talk about here. So let's talk about studying resources. So in terms of students and help with study resources, how does that look, Mr. Wessel, in terms of them figuring out what to use? Websites, Google, AI, or books, EBSCO hosts. What can they use?
Okay, so the point number 1 here is really important. This is a conversation that's happening all over the world because there's the mention there. I think that when I read through that whole thing, it's really getting to it's like taking information as it is and how to write it in their own way, and what's okay in terms of using websites, Google, AI. So that AI part is really important, and this is something that we've started to sort of crack down on and tighten up on in the middle school because we have had, unfortunately, a number of students who are using AI to generate pieces of writing and then turning it in as their own work. Now, there's a conversation globally about the role of AI in schools, and that's something that we're looking at. And it's something that is very important for our students to understand, and we're having those direct conversations in the classrooms. One of the things that I would suggest is there's a way around this, not around it. There's the honest way, and the way that I did, and probably you too, Justin, and probably Dr. Latifa. And we have subscriptions to information databases here at the school. Students can use that, and it is an important skill to learn how to paraphrase and to put something in one's own words. And so, how do they do that? They got to practice. They got to learn. Middle school is the proving ground there, because once they get into high school, they don't want to try to turn something in that they didn't actually write and then end up with a 0 on an important paper or something like that. So I'd say being able to identify appropriate and relevant sources is a skill that we just need to keep practicing over and over again. And then the use of AI needs to be, you know what, honestly, there's not a place for it in a lot of classes, but in some there are. So we just got to be having that conversation. And it's not something that I wish I could, if I had the answer, I could retire tomorrow. If I had the answer to that question, because that's something that everyone is really, it's a hot topic. So I'm glad that she brought that up. I'll go ahead and hit the other points here. Point 2, about knowing that all assignments count. This is something that we talk a lot about, especially with students who are transitioning over from an IB, like if they're in the MYP program before coming to us, or if they are in a British school, where really those are more, it's those big assessments, those big exams that are really what drive the final mark. And they weigh heavier in the American system too, but it is especially something that we need to drive home, that it all counts. So we do spend a lot of time with that. Our students know it. We spend time in our advisory program with reviewing ALMA on a weekly basis. We have one part of one day of every week is dedicated to looking at ALMA, checking on things. ALMA breaks those grades down into the different categories and what the percentage is for each of them. And so there was a lot of time spent on it. Not a lot of students go home and talk a whole lot about all of that kind of stuff, but I can promise you we dedicate a lot of time and energy to that. So you're right when you say that, very direct and clear instructions that everything counts. We do it. We do it repeatedly because, look, if you guys out there are grade 8 parents or parents of a grade 8 student, then you know as well as I do that you probably have to say something to them a few times more than once before it really gets all the way through and it resonates with the kids. Your third point there, preparing for MAP and SAT, I would say as far as MAP goes, this is not something that you need to prepare for separately. This is something that it is a measure of academic progress. So we want a genuine, authentic measure of how our educational processes are helping the students learn. And then use that data that we get to adjust to try to make that even better. It's not something to study for. And the SAT, so the SAT, you don't have to worry about that just yet. Students going into grade 11 and 12, you're definitely thinking about that. But one thing we do starting in grade 8, and so they'll be doing it here, I think it's at the end of April, actually, is we do what's called the PSAT. So that's the preliminary SAT, something that the school provides as a service for all students in grades 8 through 11. And it's a practice, getting used to that format and getting used to the types of questions and the information that they're going to face when they're taking the SAT, because they're starting to think about university in a few years.
Yeah, it definitely have that practice SAT. Sorry, go ahead, Donna. Go ahead.
I just want to say you might as well prepare your kids because I just looked on the schedule. It is PSATs will be on April 22nd. Mm-hmm. So again, like Mr. Russell said, it's not something that you have to prepare for or study for. It's rather to help you gauge where you're at and what you need to work on.
Yeah. And then once that test does happen, you get the data back pretty quick and you'll be able to see areas of strength and weakness and you can even see question by question what you got right and wrong. So there's a lot of good information there for students once those scores come out.
And a shameless plug, but Donna said April 22nd, that's also the re-enrollment deadline for the school. So make sure that you get your re-enrollment intentions into our office to let us know if you're coming back next year. So shameless plug, but I just had to piggyback off. It was too juicy for me not to piggyback off.
I mean, things happen fast. I mean, we're back to school on April 21st, right? Yep.
So as soon as we come back, it's that Sunday and then that Monday. And that's the deadline right there. So re-enrollment. So it's an appropriate time to bring it up. So thank you, Donna, for giving me that alley-oop. Appreciate that.
I only have one other thing to add about the SAT, and it's
Yes.
something, another bragging point. We don't have to worry about it. These students don't, but maybe some of them have students going into grade 11 or 12 next year too. The school is in the process, and we're in the final stages of being approved to be an SAT test center. So previously, students have had to go to all the other places, Qatar University, et cetera, to take those tests. You sign up for those online. You'll still have to sign up for them online. It's not something we'll automatically register those kids for, but they can come to a familiar environment and take that test here with us starting in August. Well, I don't know that we'll do the August one because there are several different testing dates across the year, but we will be doing. We will be a test center starting next academic year.
We're always up to something. We're always improving. So this is great. That's great information. So that means other students can come from other schools as well and take a test here if they would like.
They'll be able to. Yeah, those tests are always on Saturdays or Sundays. So they wouldn't be on a Sunday in this country. It'd be on Saturdays.
That's awesome. It's good stuff. That's great. And I think this is a follow-up to you, Mr. Wessel, in terms of like how to teach the kids how to not, use their own original material, things like that. So are we teaching them how to use the material? Like, how does that work in the school?
So this happens there's not going to be a distinct class for this, but a lot of this mostly happens in their English and their social studies classes, because those are the classes where they're going to be asked to be making use of different documents and information and bringing those together to form their own thoughts and ideas and put those on paper or on the screen. So that's something that's taught. It's across the board. It's something in all of the classes, but those are the classes where especially. And also our librarian, Miss Olivia, is actually well-versed in all of this. And there are a lot of resources online. In fact, I know because I was looking at some, I was helping a parent with some of these upcoming assessments for their 7th grade or 8th grade student the other day. And one of the things they had was a quiz that was happening today in English on MLA formatting. So those things have already started. So it's happening now in middle school, and it'll continue all through high school and on into university.
Nice. One more question from Dr. Latifa. What if a student does not choose a recommended AP class?
No problem. They absolutely do not have to. And sometimes students have been recommended and they really want to, and I suggest that they don't. It really is all about making choices that are the best for the individual student. So they absolutely do not have to choose a recommended AP class, especially not going into grade 9. Maybe they just feel like they want to kind of ease into high school, and maybe they don't want to take AP Human Geography right away. That's fine. They can try that in grade 10.
If I was a 9th grade student today, I definitely would take Human Geography in 9th grade. I was a history buff, and as close to history as possible.
Yeah, it is, and it's a cool class. It's cool, and it's accessible for students who are achieving at a pretty high level going into grade 9. It's accessible. My daughter did it in grade 10, and she enjoyed the class. Mr. V has taught that for the last several years, and yeah, I mean, I recommend it. If you can, you should, but you absolutely do not have to.
Indeed. We have another parent question as well. For math courses, what are the prerequisites for AP Calculus? Do we have to take Algebra 1, Algebra 2? And when can we take geometry if we only have 3 years with only one math course? That is a detailed question. Mr. Wessel, you're the best for that. Maybe, I don't know.
I answer this kind of question all the time. Dana, you're muted. Did you want to pipe in, or do you want me to take this? Oh, okay. If a student going into grade 9 is not already on the advanced math track, first I'll say if they are. The advanced math track that leads to AP Calculus would be geometry in grade 9, algebra 2 in grade 10, pre-calculus in grade 11, and then AP Calculus in grade 12. And then those students, though, they would be in algebra 1 this year in grade 8 and be moving on into that. There I've talked to a few students who are not in that Algebra 1 class, but our standard grade 8 math class is a pre-algebra. And there'll be a small number of kids that are performing at a very high level in that. And then we would talk to those math teachers to see if they could be recommended to basically skip over Algebra 1 and go directly to geometry, or potentially take geometry and Algebra 1 simultaneously in grade 9, and then that would get them on that track up to AP Calculus in grade 12. So there are ways around it, but you know, we're selective and we're careful about doing that because, again, we want to make sure that we're setting kids up for success. So we'll have those conversations.
Hope that answers your question. A Lily recipe. Hope that answers your question. And Mr. Wessel might just be a wizard because I think he answered the next question inadvertently. So could you please suggest a sequence of math courses? I think he just went over that. Lamia, this is a really good question, but he answered 2 in 1. So he is on a roll today. But that is it from the parent questions at this time. So I guess it's time to retire. And I want to first say thank you to our parents who are actually here and answering, coming in with questions and just, even just passively observing. Thank you for, taking your time today from Facebook and also on YouTube. Really appreciate that. Thank you for my friends, Mr. Wessel and Miss Donna, for being here as well. Really appreciate them taking out their time. And it is approximately 12:44 right now. We are closing school at 1:30, and then we are on for Eid break, right? Up until the 20th, and we come back on the 21st. So just want to make sure that if you haven't heard it yet or haven't received my text message yet, we are on Eid holiday exactly at 1:30 up until Saturday, April 20th. We come back to school on April 21st with regular school hours at that time. All right. Miss Donna, Mr. Wessel, anything else that you want to leave the crowd today? Anything else, parting shots that you want to say?
You know what? For me, I just want to say, if you have any questions, if your kids have any questions, I don't care what grade they're in, if they're anywhere in middle and high school, about trying to make the right choice for next year and the classes, please send me an email. Or I'm going to sit out in the atrium at break time every day. Well, not for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to be chilling, hanging out with my family. But after that, I will be in the atrium answering all the questions and helping out. And I'm glad to do the same by email if parents, or if you send me a message and want to have a phone call and talk about it, or a Zoom. Happy to do that too.
Ms. Donna, anything you want to leave with the parents today?
I'll just say thank you so much for, being so involved with this process. Thank you for tuning in, and see you guys hopefully at Graduate.
Graduate. All right. If we don't see you all, Eid Mubarak in advance. All right. Enjoy yourself. Don't think about school. Spend time as a family and reflect. All right. Have a great one. And as always, we salute you. Have a good day. Thank you so much, everyone.